Alright, guys, Bodhi Agora in the Agora. Once again, there's comes to mind another conspiracy. I came across a couple of people asking why are we building nuclear power plants along known fault lines? Which is a fairly good question, but what they're not understanding is what does a fault line really mean? Where are they? And what are the general ideas? Where do you select to put a nuclear power plant? Usually, where you can put the land and where it's far enough away from people. Um, but not always. Now, one of these maps, it suggests some kind of conspiracy that they're basically putting these nuclear power plants around fault lines, not where they're needed. And I'm gonna tell you right off the bat, the one that's marked in New Hampshire is way off. So whoever made this map doesn't really look at a map because the nuclear power plant in New Hampshire is on the coast. It's in Seabrook. So there's a couple problems with this, and one, this is just showing the peak ground acceleration. These are assumptions used in the design process when they design for seismic activity. Basically, when you design the structure of a building, there's certain design standards or certain coefficients you use in designing for the structure and how much you can sway. It'll determine what type of joints you use. It'll determine what kind of bracing you need. Even in New Hampshire, when I was doing fire protection systems, fire sprinkler systems and stuff, we would still have to seismically brace the sprinkler systems. And it wasn't because, hey, we're building on a fault and we're building where we shouldn't be, blah, blah, blah. It's basically just a design standard. It's a safety measure. And when you're calculating loads and stuff and horizontal sway and lateral bracing and all that, basically all this map tells you is what coefficient to use. It's really negligible in terms of, it's not negligible, but it's a very minor factor in the design process and not one that's enough to say don't build a building here. The frequency and the magnitude and all that, it's not as much of a conspiracy as people really think. It's more like, yeah, they designed and accounted for it. And there's only so much you can do. So why would you build a nuclear power plant for power? Where would you build it? None of these look like they're on a fault line directly anyway. Because New Madrid runs up, the west coast. It's a little questionable on the west coast, but it's designed for. It's part of the building code. It's part of the design process. And if you look at the majority of them are nowhere near a seismic zone. So whatever, I don't know what's wrong with people with their conspiracies, and they want to point fingers. They want to think some nefarious purpose is driving these factors, and they're not. It's more they're building where they can build them. And these maps aren't to display some kind of conspiracy. Oh, they're putting it on a known fault line. Blah, blah. No, what that means is they've actually accounted for that in the design process. I mean, how do I feel about nuclear power? I'm more concerned about the waste than the actual operation. But that's a different story and probably a different video. I just kind of wanted to go over this. And it's kind of ridiculous. Come on, people. It's not another conspiracy. Anyway, if you want me to go more in depth, it was just one of the things that struck me, and I was just immediately just like, what? Like somebody that's never actually looked into it or studied or done any kind of idea of how structures of buildings go together and that stuff. It drives me nuts. It drives me nuts. But as always, thanks for watching. Remember to subscribe, like, comment, all that stuff. If you want to see me cover something, if you want to see me do something more in depth, let me know and I can do that. I'm just trying to throw videos out there and see what you guys want to see. See what I can get traction on, and I can start producing more videos. So, thanks for watching, guys. Bodhi Agora in the Agora.